Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome to our next episode of Ask Me Anything. We're here live today from Culver City, California, LA, in our corporate office from the brand room with our lovely color wall behind us. Jerome, who's also helping me today, is in the room with me. We both just got back from an amazing event we call Lift. And this was over in Nashville. We all got back on the same flight last night, so we're happy to be here this morning and with you. If you got to be at Lift in Nashville, give me some hearts in this chat box. I would love to see if you were there. If you weren't there, I hope that you have some questions for me today, because what we do on our Ask Me Anything is answer your questions. Those questions can get answered from YouTube, they can get answered from Facebook, and also Instagram. So start typing in your questions into the chat box while we're getting there. Just a reminder, switchwithskp.com is a website you can go to if you're new to the brand and you would like to set up a one-on-one appointment with anyone from, well, not anyone, but you get certain people from our education team that you can ask questions to. So before we even get started today, I think we probably have some questions from last week, so I'll let Jerome one up for me here so we can go ahead and get it kicked off. Start typing yours in while we're doing this. So we'll start with, what shampoo would you use to rinse out color? That is an excellent question. So we have a retail line. Did you know that? I know a lot of people know our color line, but they don't always know that we have Fiber Clinics. Fiber Clinics is our over-the-counter retail shampoos and conditioners for the hair. This retail line, there is a portion of it called Vibrance, or Vibrancy. Vibrance is our Demi permanent hair color line, but Fiber Clinics is the range, and each sub-range does different things. So we have a sub-range that helps to lock in your color utilizing an AHA technology that really locks in that color molecule. So in our Fiber Clinics range for post-color services, we recommend using the vibrancy segment of our Fiber Clinics range. So great question. So I can see questions are starting to roll in online. So I'm going to start answering some of these questions. Boosters. We talked a lot about boosters last week. Boosters are available in all of, well, I say all, IGORA VIBRANCE and also Vibrance, and boosters can be added to your color formulas to help you achieve more vibrancy. Now the L series, if those of you are new to Schwarzkopf, our L series or fashion lights, we've talked about these a lot actually in these little Ask Me Anythings. You all are so curious, so I love that. These are our fashion lights. Our fashion lights are our L series. Is L-00 is natural, L-44 beige, we've got copper red, and we've got red violet. So your question is, can I add boosters into my fashion lights? According to manufacturer recommendations, fashion lights should be used alone. The reason for that is they have so much intensity on their own to give you that lift and also that vibrant color. So some people want to add boosters because they want this red even more intense. So while you could add the booster in, I just want to caution you that if you add a booster, you may dilute some of the lifting power of your fashion lights. So it's not that you can't add the booster, just know that if you do add the booster, there's a chance that you're going to dilute the lifting power. So if you want to add 0-88, I would just caution you to use less than you would in other brands and make sure you're adding that developer in a 1-to-1 ratio to boost that color. So great question. I know that's one we get a lot. So I appreciate that question. So let's move on to our next question. Is L-0 discontinued? And that answer is no, it is not. If it is not available in your market, it just means that maybe that particular distributor doesn't have it, or maybe it's on back order. So the fashion lights that we just talked about, which are those shades that give you up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. The L-0, which is actually the L-00, is not discontinued. However, there is a chance it could be out of stock. So let's see. What question do we have next? Ooh, I love this question. Hair primer. We have within our Schwarzkopf portfolio that are meant to help you as hair colorists behind a chair. One of those tools is our hair primer. Our hair primer is going to help to even out the porosity of the hair before you color the hair. Hair can become very porous, and we all know on blondes, a very porous area of hair is going to grab especially cooler molecules quicker, therefore giving sometimes an unwanted tone in parts of the hair. So utilizing that hair primer, you should use it before you refresh mid-lengths and ends or before a toner on long. So for example, say I did a bleach and tone on my client, I'm doing a bleach and tone and I've pre-lightened her hair. I would shampoo out the lightener from the pre-lightening. I would towel dry her hair or dry it to 80%. Then I would apply my primer into the hair, comb it through evenly. You do want the hair to be pretty dry by the time you apply your mid-lengths and ends, but we all know we are toning a lot of wet hair, so could I add the primer at the shampoo bowl as well? Sure. The other time a hair primer is fantastic. This hair primer has a chelating agent in it. That chelator helps to keep metals from reacting to the hair. So you could also use the hair primer before you're about to do a highlighting service on those mid-lengths and ends. That's going to even out the porosity and maybe help that lightener not to react to any metals in the hair. So great question. Hair primer is used before you refresh mid-lengths and ends or before a service. All right. Okay, great. So switching from Redken to Schwarzkopf, the number system can be challenging if you're used to a letter system. So I'm going to have Jerome pull up onto the screen our color circle and our number system. I just want to try to make this as easy as possible. So what I to say is that number before the dash is your depth or your level. The first number after the dash is that primary color direction. Second number after the dash is that secondary direction. That number after the dash is one that means the most. So the first number after the dash is going to be what I'm seeing most of. The second number is the reflect. So in the example on this page, dash 57, it's a level 7 and it's mainly gold with copper reflection. So when you're looking at those numbers, always think -0 is natural or neutral. That is just not too warm, not too cool. That is our neutral shade. Your low numbers, -1 through -3, are your cool shades. So the lower the number, the cooler the shade. -1 is cendre. That's a blue-violet color direction, counteracting yellow-orange. -2 is ash, which is blue, counteracting orange. -3 is matte, which is a green color direction, counteracting red. So low number, cool number. -4 through -6 are warm shades. So my middle numbers are warm tones. So -4 being beige, which is a muted or softer gold. -5 being gold or a yellow color direction. And -6 being warm brown or chocolate is what we call that one. But think of it as a warm brown. So -0, natural, neutral, low numbers, cool numbers, middle numbers, warm numbers. That leaves me with my reds. -7 and above, the higher the number, the more red. -7 being copper, which is an orange color direction, -8 being red, which is a red color direction, and -9 being violet, which is that violet color tone. If you haven't already taken a screenshot of this piece, you can also go to our Switch with skp.com page, because guess what? Not only can you book your one-on-one appointment with an educator to ask your questions, but you can also download this PDF. You'll be able to download a color circle along with that number system. For those of you that know, I did work with Tracy Cunningham when she switched over to Schwarzkopf. She calls me with questions to this day, but she utilizes that chart in her color room daily. She keeps it in her color bar and she references it every day. But she said she now thinks in numbers. So for those of you that may be switching from one brand to another that was earlier alpha and now you're numerical, eventually your brain's going to think that way. So hopefully that'll make it easier. All right. On the rail shade with 2 numbers after the dash, how much percentage is that secondary tone direction in comparison to the first tone? So every color is going to be different. What she means by that, we just talked about the numbers after the dash. So for instance, in this is 9-50, level 9, gold, natural. How much of that we had on that last screen was 7-57? Think of it like this. Because each number or like level is different, they're all going to be different. But if your brain wants to think in how much, think about 2 parts. The color direction is that primary color, and about 1 part of that color direction is the secondary. So in 7-57, it's a level 7, and it's approximately 2 parts gold, approximately 1 part copper. So, or think of it as a mainly seeing gold with a little copper reflection. So that was a great question to ask as we were just finishing up the number system. Thank you for that. I hope that helps. So let's see what other questions we have. All right, so caramel brown. Have you ever had clients do interesting things for you to know what a color is? The most interesting thing I had happen is I had somebody come into the salon one day with a jar of caramel. They handed me said jar of caramel and said, "This is what I want my hair color to be." I say that only to let you know that caramel is different for everybody. So for caramel brown to me, brown is typically levels, like 3 to 5, but I'm going to go with even up to 7. So anywhere between a 4 and a 7. So for something that's more on that caramel side, I like using Dash 46. It's a beige chocolate, so it has that nice warmth to it, but that beige gives that slight bit of coolness and will give you a rich chocolate color to it. So I love utilizing that for it. I do also sometimes, if I want a little more red, I'll add a little bit of my gold copper into the formula of my Dash 46 just to get a little bit more of that richness. But there's so many different tones that you can utilize for it. Caramel can also be gold. So our golds, what I love about the golds that we have is that they're very natural gold. They're not like I just got really brassy hair. It's a gold, but it's natural. So even try our Dash 55 series, which is our gold extra. My other favorite, Dash 65. It's a chocolate gold. So chocolate first and then having that gold reflection. So you're not seeing a red or an orange undertone. You're truly just seeing kind of that warmth. So I love using a Dash 65 also for a really great caramel brown. So hopefully that answered your question. Formula questions are always great because we're constantly trying to find new formulas for our customers. So next question we have, all right, so back to fashion lights, L-77 and L-99, just to let you know, those are not gone. They just might be out of stock. So yes, they will be coming back. We are not discontinuing them. There is not a replacement for them. So we need them. Those are those fashion lights that get up to 5 levels of lift and tone. However, it's not L99, it's actually L-89, which is that red violet. So L-77 is that fashion light up to 5 levels, copper extra, and L-89 might be out of stock, but they will be here. Let's see, what else do we have? So we do have a little question about a discontinued color. So in TBH, there was a shade 9-49. It's a level 9 and it is a beige violet. We do have a 9.5-49. That's going to be more translucent than the 9-49, but it is something that has that beige ash color, or not ash, beige violet color tone to it. So that could be something you add into your formula. The other part is, if you think of it, the Dash 4 is going to be that beige, so I can take any beige tone, so a Dash 4, and I would say mix into that maybe a little bit of an 8-19. I know that's a level 8, but you could use your 9.5-19 to slightly dilute that level 8 and kind of get something in between so that you have that. But I would say mix a beige with anything that has a violet tone to it, or a cendre violet. That's going to be your closest. Now, for those of you that are switching, maybe you had TBH, which was a color line, for those of you that don't know. They used 50% less ammonia than our IGORA Real, but it still had ammonia, and it was just a softer gray coverage where it was more natural gray coverage. It's that beautifully between a permanent and a demi-permanent color. So we've been recommending a lot of our customers that we're using TBH to utilize our IGORA Zero. This is our ammonia-free option. It's ammonia-free, which is even better than just 50% less ammonia. It has MEAs instead, monoethylenolia. So with this one, you could also utilize some things in here. We have a Dash 19 at a level 8. We also have a Dash 42. I would say a Dash 42 might actually be very similar also to that 9-49, which is that beige violet. You're going to have a little more ash than you did violet, but it's going to look very similar and have just that very soft, natural level 9. So hopefully that helps you. There's a couple of different options for you. So next question we have here. I love that you guys are typing them in. Keep them coming. For a shadow root on level 5, what formula and what developer and vibrance can be used? So a shadow root on a level 5. So if you're looking for a level 5 shadow root with in vibrance, there are a lot of options. So with vibrance, it depends on what color shadow root you want. If you want something that's more of a natural shadow root, I actually love using the 5-16. It's that cendre chocolate. Sometimes people reference it as like a mushroom brown. The reason I love that is naturally a level 5 hair color is a little bit more ashy. So this has that cendre, which is a blue violet first, and then it has this rich chocolate kick after this reflection. So I love using 5-16, part of our Raw Essentials collection. It's perfect for a shadow root. Other option, if you want to keep it on that cool side, is just use 5-1. It's a level 5 and it's that cendre, which is that blue violet. So if your client is being lifted at all, this is going to tone down any warmth that would come from lifting. So another great option. Honestly, even 5-0, which is our level 5 natural, is perfection. It's the most beautiful natural tone. I like sometimes mixing in a little of that 5-0 in with, say, the 5-1. Andre. So those are some great options for you, but honestly, you can't go wrong. Anything you choose is going to look phenomenal. All right, let's see what other ones we have. Okay, so when we're talking about fashion lights, because there's another color on fashion lights here, you're wanting to create a more of a caramel color in your fashion lights. Your best option is that L-44. It's that fashion light which gives you up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair. However, there are a lot of fashion tones. There's copper, there's red violet. L-00 is strictly lift. It's not going to have any tone, so it can be mixed with anything else to soften them. I would recommend this L-44. It has a beige color direction to it. That beige is going to add this slight smokiness and cool off to give you that true caramel tone, because you're getting that lift, which is going to create warmth, and the L-44 beige is going to tone that for you. If you want any other recommendations, again, don't forget, you can all book your one-on-one appointment with on our Switch with skp.com page, and you can book your one-on-one appointment with an educator and ask all the questions you want. All right, so is Schwarzkopf ammonia-free? While the entire range is not ammonia-free, we do actually have an ammonia-free option in our IGORA Zero, and you can create an entire ammonia-free permanent hair color with IGORA Zero and continue that ammonia-free story by using vibrance on the mid-lengths and ends. So if you want a true complete ammonia-free service, you can cover gray 100% with IGORA Zero, and then refresh those mid-lengths and ends with IGORA Vibrance, both of which are ammonia-free, and they both have an MEA, which is that monoethylene. Now, if you want to get more of a gray blending, you could strictly use Vibrance and get up to 70% gray blending and also refresh the mid-lengths and ends. If you utilize IGORA Real, that is not ammonia-free, that one does have ammonia. So great question. Now, again, lots and lots of questions on the fashion lights. Can they be intermixed? Those fashion lights, again, is the L series right here. These are meant to be mixed within themselves. So I can mix a copper with a -0 to soften that, or L-00. However, we don't recommend mixing these with a regular red IGORA box. These come in a light purple box. And we always say red and red can go together, purple and purple can go together, blue and blue, but mixing red with purple, we don't recommend. Now, that doesn't mean that it wouldn't still work. The reason we recommend not mixing them is you'll dilute the lifting capability that you're getting out of the fashion lights by mixing it with something else. So if you're not trying to get the full 5 levels of lift, then you could mix the fashion lights with something else, but we recommend utilizing them on their own to get that up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step. So great question. All right. So 7-60 is a proper caramel brown. Yes, however, just remember 7-60 is a level 7 and it is a chocolate natural, but that is on our absolutes page. We've talked about absolutes before, but I always love to touch base. These are pre-blended fashion shades in your coppers, your golds, your chocolates, your reds. They are pre-blended to give you 100% gray coverage on their own without being mixed with anything. And these have a pro-age complex in them, which is a combination of cysteamines and collagen to help make the hair feel better for that more mature client. So 7-60 is a level 7 and it's a chocolate natural. It gives you a true level 7 chocolate without having to mix for gray coverage. So I would only utilize the 7-60 when I'm creating gray coverage. If you're going for mid-lengths and ends, that 0 or the natural in the 7-60 is meant to give you that gray coverage. So for mid-lengths and ends, you might choose a different chocolate shade to pull through mid-lengths and ends. So great question there. We do have a 7-16 level 7. That's that cendre chocolate. That might be a great refresh and vibrance for those mid-lengths and ends. So it sounds like one person on here is asking about struggling with coverage with 8-00. If you're struggling with white coverage, there's a couple little tips that you can do. 8-00 has that extra pigment weight. It has 25% more pigment weight, but our absolutes actually have 30% more pigment weight. So one option would be maybe try to switch your client over to absolutes. We don't have a -00 in this. However, we have an 8-01, which would be my recommendation because it's a level 8 and it's that natural and it has that cendre. So it's going to give you that natural, but also help to kick out any unwanted brass. So maybe try utilizing 8-01 in absolutes and see if that gives you better gray coverage. The other reason could be developer. With the -00 series, we recommend 20 or 30 volume Agora Real developer. If you're not using 20 or 30, you may not be getting enough coverage, but some little tips for gray coverage. You can take perm papers because the area that usually doesn't cover is right here around the face. Sometimes that color dries out and it doesn't seem to want to cover. So taking perm papers and covering with perm papers or even utilizing foil and sticking there. The foil will trap in heat, which will also allow that color molecule to drive in deeper. The other thing, we don't recommend using heat with any of our color, but as a way to trap in heat, I like to take a plastic cap, put over that hair, then drape a towel over. What is that going to do, you ask? It's create internal heat. So the heat of the scalp will then stay trapped within that cap that you put on, and putting a towel over top of is then going to trap that heat even more, and it's going to keep that color moist, and hopefully that will help you get that better gray coverage. But we all know some people just have really stubborn hair, so give them that extra time too. Let them sit the full 45 minutes so that they can truly get that gray coverage, and maybe even try color 10 on them and let that sit for 15 minutes. Whatever you do, let me know what works best for you, but you've got a couple of options there. All right. This is another great question because it's about high lifts. It says, if I wanted to do an all over high lift, would I use Agora Real on the root or Agora High Lift? Great question. This all depends on the starting point for your client. If you're doing a high lift and you don't have gray coverage, utilizing our high lift series is going to be for you. This is your perfect option. So the Agora high lifts are a blue box, and they have a 10 series and a 12 series that give you up to 4 levels of lift in the 10 series and up to 5 levels of lift in the 12 series. Now, mind you, the 12 series is meant to be used on a base level or above. If it's under a level 6, you're not going to get the wanted result because there's not enough pigment weight to get rid of the brassiness that would happen if you lifted under a level 6. So level 6 and above gives you up to 5 levels of lift. You'll use 40 volume if you're at a level 6 or 7. If you're a level 8 or above, 30 is enough. Now, typically, if you're a level 8 or above, I would just go with the 10 series. The 10 series gives you up to 4 levels of lift. It gives you that lift and a little more deposit. Example, my money piece. You know, I don't use lightener on my money piece at all. I'm naturally a level 7. I have a finer hair texture. I have lighter eyes and lighter skin. My hair lifts like a dream. I could be platinum blonde so easy, but I like red, so I'm not. So for platinum blonde though, for my money piece, I like to utilize a 10-4, which is level 10 beige, and I actually mix, I know you're not supposed to, but just a tiny bit of a level 9-7, that little bit of copper just to give a little bit of warmth, and I only use 30 volume, and I apply that to my new growth and let it sit. So typically I would say use Agora high lifts if you're doing a high lift color. Now, what if you're doing high lift, but you have, say, 50% gray? That high lift could leave a weird shade because it's not giving gray coverage. It's giving, at best, 30% gray blending, which it's probably not even doing that. That's when I like to go into my Blond Me range. We have something in Blond Me called Lift and Blend, and it does exactly what it says. It's going to give you up to 4 levels of lift and it's going to tone the white hair, giving this beautiful multi-dimensional blonde. And when I say tone, you're getting 100% gray coverage. So why do we call it multi-dimensional? Well, if you're creating lift, you're creating a little bit of warmth. So the color that you're seeing here may not be exactly the same as the toner that I'm putting here. Therefore, we call it multi-dimensional, but you will get 100% gray coverage with our lift and blend shades within the Blond Me range. So if you're looking for a high lift that does achieve 100% gray coverage, go into our Blond Me range. The base color needs to be a level 6 or above still. You'll use your 30 or 40 volume dedicated Blond Me developer with your lift and blend shade. If the client is a level 8 or above, 30 volume is enough. If they're a level 6 or 7, you would want 40 volume to achieve that up to 4 levels of lift. So hopefully that answered your question. Yes, I would use a high lift when I am trying to get that much lift. If you use a level 9, you can still get up to 4 levels of lift, but just remember your starting and ending point and where you're trying to go. So hopefully that helped. And always remember, if it's a specific client and you want to ask that question, go to our what? Switch with skp.com page. You can find all the materials there and book your one-on-one appointment with an Ask Expert and get your questions answered if it's a particular one. All right. So next question I think is also a great question. Does Pastel Fire have more ammonia than other Agora Rail shades? If it's compatible to the quantity of ammonia in Agora High Lift Series level 10. So, do I know the exact pH level that is in a Pastel Fire? No. Could I find out from the R&D department? Sure. Do I know if Pastel Fire has more ammonia than most of the Agora Real shades? I would say the answer to that would be yes. And the reason I say that, Pastel Fire is this guy right here. If you've never used Agora Real, or even if you have, you might be like, what does Pastel Fire do? Pastel Fire has actually 3 jobs. Job number 1 is going to be to give an extra level of lift in my color formula. Job number 2, it has a slight cendre tone to it to help soften my tone. The job number 3 is it dilutes my color. So why would I use it and why would it have more ammonia? So we used to have something called E-0. That was basically a tube of ammonia. It helped you get 1 extra level of lift in your color formula. Well, Pastel Fire on its own can get up to 3 levels of lift on its own on virgin hair. It also can be added into your color formula to create that extra little bit of lift. I will talk to the R&D department to find out for sure. As far as the regular Agora Real, yes, Pastel Fire is going to have more ammonia and a higher alkalinity level than the core range. Now, does it have more ammonia than our high lift series? That I don't know. Our high lift can achieve up to 4 or 5 levels of lift, and this can achieve up to 3. So I venture to say maybe not more than, but about the same amount of, but I can check with our R&D department and get back to you on that one. So, but yes, more than the core range, Pastel Fire will have that. Next question. Oh, yes, I love this one. How many out there have ever used our color remover? And if you have, I want to see your hearts in the chat box because I absolutely adore our color remover. What is a color remover? Exactly what it sounds like. It's going to remove color from the hair. Our color remover is part of our Color Essential Tools line, and it comes in a white box with black letters. In that box, there's 2 sachets, sachet A and sachet B. Sachet A is a powder. Sachet B is almost like a conditioner. Each sachet is 30 grams. So you'll put sachet A 30 grams, sachet B 30 grams. That gets mixed with either your 6 volume lotion in Vibrance or 10 volume Agora Real developer. How do you determine which one? If you only want maybe 1 level of lift or a slight shift, 6 volume lotion and Vibrance. If you're looking for up to 3 levels of lift because you're doing an entire correction, that's when you would use 10 volume Agora Real developer. You do not need anything higher. You will mix that equal parts with what is in your bowl. So if I have 30 grams of sachet A, 30 grams of sachet B, 30 and 30 is 60, so it'd be 60 grams of my developer. Now, this color remover is going to remove both direct and indirect dyes. Why is that important? Because some color removers will only remove direct dyes. That means those dyes that sit on the outer cuticle layer of your hair. That means anything that's indirect, which also takes oxygen to process, that's on the interior of that hair is still there. So there are some color removers out there that you'll remove the color, and what happens is when you color that hair again, there's still those oxidative dyes inside that hair strand that get activated and that hair will go dark again. That will not happen with our color remover. Our color remover removes both dyes. So will it give lift on the natural hair? Yes. So if I have new growth and I'm trying to remove everything from the new growth out and I overlap, it could shift that natural base. But I'm already doing a corrective color, so I can tone that back down. It does sit in a gentle lightener category, and it sits there because it needs to be enough strength to get rid of the color molecules, but you don't want it to be too much strength to where it drives those color molecules back into the hair. The other beauty of our color remover is it smells good. How many of us out there have put a color remover on and that scent is whew, sulfur water? It is bad. Ours actually smells almost floral. I actually enjoy the smell of it. On top of that, ours is a bond enforcing color remover. What that means is that we have a bonding agent within the color remover that's going to keep the hair in excellent condition. At one point, my hair was like this pink magenta shade. And when I was switching it over to copper, I used our color remover first and it only sits on for up to 20 minutes. And I like to put it on damp hair already, so more product goes a longer ways. And you know, my hair felt better after I used the color remover than it did before. I was so impressed at how well my hair felt. So if you've never tried our color remover, it is phenomenal. It's part of our Color Essentials tool, and I highly recommend it. And it's not going to change the hair, the texture of the hair or dehydrate it because we have those moisturizing capabilities. And we also have that bonding technology. I love that question. So thank you for that one. All right. Okay, I do love this question too because we have talked a lot about fashion lights. And one I haven't discussed with the fashion lights, which are those tones that give you up to 5 levels of lift and tone in one step, even on previously colored hair, is once I've used the fashion lights once, do I need to keep utilizing them? These are the fashion lights here. No. If I have lifted somebody's hair with the fashion lights to this vibrant red, to refresh that hair when that color fades, it's a lighter shade than what it was before. So I can use Vibrance and take, say, 7-88 in Vibrance all over that pre-lined area and refresh that way. So when it comes to a fashion light or a high lift, if I want to refresh the mid area on the new growth area, or like, you know, wherever I want to relift again, I might use this shade. However, these are off scalp, so it might be in a foil where I retouch on that new growth. But whenever I'm refreshing, I just use Vibrance. So even on mine, I will refresh my new growth with a high lift and I will use Vibrance to then tone the mid lengths and ends. So love that question. If you're lifting with fashion lights, your refresh does not need to be fashion lights. It can be Vibrance. And same thing, lifting with a high lift to refresh mid lengths and ends, simply use Vibrance toner. Love that question. All right. Is a dash 5-5 good good move for a balayage with a copper base? Would it appear too yellow maybe? Should I mix dash 4 to balance it out? Love this question. So dash 5-5, 0-5-5, I will tell you right now, Tracy Cunningham uses 0-5-5 in Vibrance all the time. It is one of boosters. It is our gold booster right here. I know it appears very yellow on here, but if somebody is going into a copper shade, the 0-5-5 is excellent for creating that copper base because it's going to give lift. So you're going to get some of that underlying red. Yes, you'll have some yellow as well, but you're going to have some of that underlying copper also. So love utilizing this in a color formula or even, okay, so how many of us have seen Freakier Friday? Lindsay Lohan in that movie went from a darker red to a lighter red for that movie. When she transitioned over, we did lighten her first with L-00, but now that she's lighter, guess what? Her base is 9-55. It's a level 9 gold extra to shift her base and lift her. So she utilizes 9-55 to create that lift and create that natural copper tone. So you can see in the picture here where she's at. She's more blonde now, but 9-55 with 20 volume is what she utilizes to shift her base. And so our gold doesn't go too yellow. It's actually perfect. And then you can tone down or put your copper shade over top of it. So love that you asked that question. You could add dash 4 to balance it out if you were concerned about it. But to be honest, dash 5 is perfect. It's gorgeous for that. All right. Uh, so in Blond Me, what toner combo would you use to turn yellow orange level 8 hair to a caramel blonde or a smudge root? So I think we've talked about this in some of our other Ask Me Anythings, but did you know that we have toners in our Blond Me range as well? We talk about vibrance toners all the time, but I think people forget that our Blond Me range has a whole list of toners as well. Within this range, the biggest difference between vibrance toners and blonde toners is pH neutral versus alkaline based. So pH neutral, if we're looking at the pH scale that Jerome is going to pull up for you, pH neutral is a 7 on that pH scale. If it's alkaline, it's going to be above a 7. If it's acidic, it's going to be below a 7. So our Blond Me toners sit right at that 7 pH. So they're not alkaline, they're not acidic, they're pH neutral. What that means to you as a colorist is there's no risk of shifting the base of that hair. That hair color will not lighten at all because it is pH neutral. When you have an alkaline base with our vibrance, there is that slight ability to potentially shift that base up to 1 level with 13 volume. So if you don't want to risk that, we have Blond Me toners. Now, which color would you use to create a caramel blonde for yellow orange for level 8 hair? When we look at these swatches here for Blond Me, they don't have a level on them. They simply have a name to them. I mean, small little like hint, next year we might have both a name and a number attached to them. So keep your eye out for that. So within these, I will tell you that your lightest shades are going to be these 3 right here: ice, sand, and biscuit. These would be like a level 10. So these aren't going to work for your level 8. Brown, mahogany, ash, and ice iris, the other 3 up here, are going to sit at a level 9. Again, there's some tone there, but probably not quite at the level you want. To be honest, for what you're asking for the caramel, milk chocolate would be my favorite. Milk chocolate is right. It sits at a level 8, and it's truly almost like that dash 4-6. It's like a beige chocolate. It keeps some warmth, but it has that beige to kind of tone out the like orange that you're seeing. If you wanted to tone that out a little bit more, you can mix a deep toner with a regular toner shade. So sometimes what I'll do is add ash to my milk chocolate, and this will help to tone out a little of that extra orange that you're seeing, but then you've got that milk chocolate to keep that deep, rich base. I also love using for a smudge root that milk chocolate as well. Now a smudge root though, in Blond Me, you're not going to get a smudge as in lightening that hair. That's when I might go into vibrance and choose a level 8 with 13 volume that can maybe slightly shift that base. So I'm getting that slight bit of lift if I wanted that little bit of a smudge. So great question there. Next question we have here. I do bleach. Which color do I have to deposit? You have a ton of options. So if you bleach hair first and you want to tone it, it depends on where it's lifted to as to what you utilize the tone, but you can use any of the Blond Me toners. You can use any of our vibrance toners. You can use any vibrance color even. So if you think if you bleach hair and somebody's naturally a level 6 or above, they're probably going to come out pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow. That's when I can use my 10 or my 9.5 series or level 10 toners in vibrance, and that is my perfect option right over here. However, if I've only lifted to a level 8, I might actually want to go down to a regular vibrance shade or mix a regular vibrance shade with my toner to achieve the level that I need. So when you ask which color after you've lifted to deposit, it depends. Do you want warmth? Do you want coolness? So for you, I recommend to go to our Switch with skp.com page. Book your one-on-one appointment with an educator and let them know exactly what you're looking to get with that bleach, and they can lead you in that direction. So next question. When I bleach with 40 volume and then deposit with 20, I still see translucent patchy color. I'm going to say that try going down on your volume of developer. None of our lighteners recommend 40 volume except for our clay lightener in the Blond Me range. Our clay lightener can be utilized with 40 volume, but only when you're hand painting, not when you're putting it on the scalp. We only recommend up to 20 volume on scalp. So maybe start lowering the volume in your lightener. That's going to give you more even porosity and keep the hair in better condition. Hair that is in better condition and has better porosity is going to have a better overall color result. The other option you have is our hair primer. You can spray that hair with hair primer first, comb that through. That's going to even out the porosity of that hair first, so that when you do put the color on, it's going to take evenly. So lower your developer, use that hair primer, and let me know what results you get. Hopefully that helps you out. Next question, I love this one too. Does Agora Zero Am last as long as Agora Real and Absolutes on hair? And that answer is yes, it does. Our Agora Zero is still 100% gray coverage. I'll repeat that. Our Agora Zero, our ammonia-free range is still 100% gray coverage. Its lasting power is the same as our Agora Real lasting power, and it also will last just as long as the Absolute. So if you have not tried it yet, your longevity is the same, so give that a shot. So the next question is talking about Tracy Cunningham's formulas and placements, about the red carpet looks. So what I will say is follow Tracy Cunningham on Instagram. She is constantly sharing her formulas all the time on her page. The other thing is, if you have not been to your distributor store yet, if you have a physical store near you, we actually have little booklets that we created from Schwarzkopf based upon some of Tracy's clients. In that, you're going to see her formula card and what formulas she used. What I can tell you is some of the bases that she likes the most for brunettes always include some sort of 6-12, which is a level 6 Cendré Ash. She loves to use a cooler base on her brunettes to counteract any warmth. For her reds, she always adds a 0-55 into the formula to give that extra gold kick, so she loves utilizing that. Whenever she's doing a lighter shade, also she uses our Cendré, like anything with a -1 in it to help counteract. But again, follow her on Instagram. She's at Tracy Cunningham. She shares her formulas all the time. When she's doing a root smudge, she will use Vibrance for a root smudge with 13 volume to create that lift, but also keep it a controlled lift. Every now and then she might use our Agora Real level 9 as her base bump and as a root smudge, but a lot of times she uses Vibrance for both. So there's a couple little like tips and tricks for you, but again, follow her. She doesn't hide or hold anything back. Also, if you happen to be on the East Coast, Etha is doing a hair show that she's going to be at in a couple of weeks. So you can go see her live and see her with some live models. And if you were at Lyft, you might have gotten to see her in person. The next question, what volume do you recommend for bleach? Well, that is a loaded question. Depends on what lightener you're using. If you're utilizing our Blond Me 9 Plus, to be honest, I use 7 volume or 20 volume all the time. I very rarely go up to 30 volume because I don't need it. Blond Me 9 Plus lifts very quickly, and I can use up to 20 volume on scalp. So a lot of times if I'm doing an on scalp lightening, I'll either do 7 volume, or I'll mix a little 7 and 20 volume for on scalp, and then maybe use 20 volume for mids and ends. Or I'll do 20 volume on scalp and maybe mix 20 volume and just a tad bit of 30 for mids and ends. Just depends on what my starting level is. It's only on the darker bases that I would use 20 volume even on scalp. If it's a lighter base, 7 volume is going to be enough. Now, if you're using, say, our clay lightener or our precision lightener, those might be a little bit different. With precision, I love using 20 volume. That is my go-to. But with clay lightener, because I'm doing open air techniques, I use one level or like one stronger developer than I would if I was in a foil. So for instance, if in a foil I was going to do 20 volume, with my clay lightener, I would use 30 volume to get that extra lift because it's in open air and doesn't have the foil to trap in heat. In my Agora Vario Blondes, I usually use 20 volume. The only time I move up to 30 is when I'm using like doing my last couple of foils and I really just want to punch them up. I might go up to 30. So I'd say in general, 20 volume is my go-to for most lighteners across the board. However, it varies on thickness of hair, whether I'm going from super dark to super light, but in general, 20 volume. Okay. What's our next question? What's the difference between a cool base breaker and extra cool? More blue violet? So that is an excellent question. Our base breakers are just that. They're going to break the base and they're also going to give you a tone. So when we're looking at this swatch here, we've got cool and extra cool. when we're looking at this, I want to point out, you can see a little bit more of that blue base. It's almost got this blue green to it. So if we think about extra cool as for that level 4 or level 5, that extra cool is going to have almost that hint of a green because that blue green is going to counteract that red orange. Our cool then is going to be more of a true blue or ash tone because that ash tone is going to counteract that orange. So the biggest difference is just a little bit more pigment weight, and that pigment weight might be more of a blue or blue violet, a little less blue and more of a gray blue over on the cool. So hopefully that helped you out there. So we've got a few more questions here that we want to get to. I want to start using high lift for highlights on my level 7 and above clients. What developer do you recommend? Great question. So high lift, these 3 tier that we talked about in the blue box, they have our bonding technology and they give you up to 4 levels of lift. They are excellent for highlighting on your level 7 and above clients. I would recommend, if they are truly a level 7 and they have a thicker hair texture, use 40 volume still. You'll get that lift that you need for sure, and then you'll get a controlled deposit. If they're like that lighter level 7 and almost a level 8 and their hair is finer, you could get a 30 volume. As I mentioned on my hair, I get away with 30 volume for my money piece, but I'm a level 7 naturally, but a light level 7, and I have a very fine hair texture, so it's really easy into that hair cuticle layer and give that extra lift. So 30 or 40 volume, I would say low level 7 in hair, 40 volume. If they're a lighter level 7 and finer hair, 30 volume would be enough. And sometimes if I'm unsure, I'll mix them both together. But I always say do a patch test. That's always the best way. Find a spot, try it in one area and see what works best. It might be that 40 volume is recommended in back and 30 in the front because the hair in the front tends to be a little bit lighter. So try it and see what works best for you. All right, so if I'm using both colors, like IGORA Zero and Ammonia, what's going to happen? So I'm taking question as I decided I'm going to take my red box and my ammonia-free box, and I'm going to mix these two together in one bowl. Nothing's going to explode, I promise. As a colorist, I think we all like to say, okay, what's the rules? Okay, now that I know the rules, I'm going to break them. You just have to ask yourself, what's the reason for breaking them? Why am I mixing something with ammonia here and with something that doesn't have ammonia? What is the reason behind that? Is it just because I'm in a shade? Is it because I am hoping to get a little extra lift with my IGORA VIBRANCE? So what is your reason for it? I will tell you, I have mixed these together before. I have ran out of 7-77 in IGORA VIBRANCE, used it in IGORA Zero, and mixed in a little 9-7. Did it hurt anything? No. It's just not recommended because typically if you're using an ammonia-free option, it's for a reason. That person maybe doesn't want to smell any sort of color, or maybe they just want something that maybe has a little bit softer lift. There's usually a reason they want an ammonia-free option. We don't recommend it because it's 2 different technologies. It's also 2 different alkalizing agents. That's why we don't recommend it. But if you mix them together, I'm telling you right now, it's going to work still. You still have the same developer doing it. It's just a different alkalizing agent. And so you're just adding those 2 together. Again, we don't recommend it. I have done it. It's fine. But if you want to get guaranteed results, do as the manufacturer says. So great question. Love that. We all challenge the rules. It happens. Again, I do it all the time. So next question. If I wanted to highlight a base level 6 and she wants a caramel highlight, what would that be? Well, honestly, you might even be able to utilize our 10 series in our high lifts. So if she's a naturally a level 6, I could use a 10 or 12 series. I would say if she's wanting more of a caramel, I would maybe do it with my 30 volume and level 10. However, you don't even have to go into a high lift. We have so many shades that are in our IGORA VIBRANCE. So if you want a caramel shade, maybe you'll take your 9-4. If she's a level 6 naturally, I could take even just a 9-4 in my IGORA VIBRANCE, mix that with 30 or 40 volume, and use that as highlight, and it's going to be beautiful. Now that's on virgin hair only. If she's already previously colored her hair, that's when I'd want to move into the fashion lights to guarantee that lift. So either use a level 8 or level 9 with a 30 or 40 volume, utilize a high lift if you want a lighter caramel shade. I would recommend a 10 series with 30 volume, or you can use your fashion lights if it is previously colored hair. So let's talk a little bit about gray color. I'd like to ask about the silver whites line. I'm so glad you asked. The silver whites are great. Could you please share more information about them? So our silver whites are part of a series that we have that were brought out for natural silver white hair. These are beautiful shades and all the time they're your unnatural silver. That's not what they were brought out for. What these were brought out for is to be true tonal refiners for your natural client. Your client stops coming in and getting hair color. She's just doing haircuts. However, she says her hair is not shiny anymore. It's brittle. It doesn't feel as good. It's getting yellow. That's where these come in. They're meant to refine that natural silver white hair. We also found some people are growing out their gray hair and they don't want to have to deal with half colored hair, half natural. So these were a great tool for them to lift that hair that had been a darker color, pre-tone, and use silver whites as your all over toner. These are meant to be used with your 10 volume Agora Real developer, only 10 volume, because you're looking for deposit only on these. They only process up to 20 minutes. They act like a Demi permanent, even though they sit in the permanent category. They sit in the permanent category because they have that pro-age complex combination of cysteamines to smooth a hair cuticle and collagen to fill in the brittle sites. So it's actually going to make silver white hair feel better. Within this, there's silver, which is the lightest of the four tones. Dove gray and gray lilac are both medium gray tones, but the gray lilac has that hint of a blue gray. And then we have slate gray, which is the deepest of the tones. That's really great for somebody who's level 5 naturally and just wants to make their white hairs a little bit darker to blend in. So really great for that gray blending. On their own, they're a really great tonal refiner. If you lift the hair first and want that unnatural silver, you need to lift to that pale yellow, like inside of a banana peel yellow first. Then pre-tone with either 9.5-1, which is your cendre, or with a violet shampoo to try to create that white base so that when you do tone over, you get that perfect end result. I have used these to create a natural silver many times. Love using Dove Gray and Slate Gray as low lights in the hair and using silver all over everything just to create this beautiful multi-dimensional salt and pepper. So it is amazing. 10 volume Agora Real developer. A true tonal refiner for natural silver white hair, but also tan tone blondes. All right. So let's see what other, we only have time for about one or two more questions. So I'm going to take a look and see which one's great that we want to go to. So let's see. I've got, ma'am, do I color? I do ash color same day with an Olaplex treatment for dryness, but the color is gone. So not really sure why the ash color is going away, but I would say if you're going to do, and I don't know what I'm thinking that's Olaplex, Neoplex, not sure what treatment it is that you're using. There's got to be something in that treatment that's removing. So if it's a keratin treatment and you're doing ash before a keratin treatment, I would highly recommend you do your color after the keratin treatment. When you do keratin treatments, if you're taking a flat iron and you're running that flat iron over the hair, that heat can release those dye molecules because you're applying that flat iron multiple times over that strand of hair. So if that treatment is a keratin treatment, that is the why the ash color is going away. You'd want to do that treatment first before putting your ash toner on. Now, if it's just a treatment for the hair, it's probably something in that treatment that is reacting or opening up that hair cuticle, must have some sort of alkaline base. So whatever that is just counteracting. So I would say do the treatment first and then apply your ash toner. Either way, we do have our bonding color masks, which can be a fantastic option. The bonding color masks can have that 9.5-1, which is that cendre, and it can give you that ash or like cendre tone, but then also keep you from releasing that pigment. So let's see what other questions we have here. We've got time for about one more. So let's take a look at this question here. Let's see. I have a question here. When I use Agora with 10 volume for gray coverage, you find it grabs darker around the face. I love this question. Okay, we've all been there. You color someone's hair. It is the perfect color everywhere, but around their hairline, it is like one level darker at least than everything else. Why? Here's your reason why. Hair around the hairline can be more fine than your other hair. Hair that is more fine is going to show more color density. So if I'm taking something that is a level 7 here and around the hairline it looks even deeper, think about it like this. If I have a skinny hair tube or a skinny tube and I have like a thick tube and I put say 100 beads in each one, which one is going to look more dense? the one that's skinny. If I have the same color molecules going into different like circular hair strands, the one that is thinner is going to look like a deeper color. I highly recommend you should be doing this with all of your clients, and Tracy Cunningham does it with every single one of hers. Formulate about one level lighter for the hairline than you do anywhere else, and you won't have to deal with this. It's just that that hairline around the face tends to be a little bit finer. So with Tracy, you'll see she has these tiny little bowls. I actually bought some for her kit for when she travels, and I just bought these little like kind of rubber spice bowls that you can get. They're just little. I use that for the hairline bowl, and you mix up one separate formula. So if I did 7-0 everywhere else, I might take a level 8-0 and put in my little hairline bowl, and I'm going to use that formula around the face and 7-0 on everything else. So always formulate a half to a level lighter around the hairline, and that will help you avoid the hair getting darker around the hairline. Hair is naturally a little bit lighter around the face anyways, so it's also going to look more natural on your client. A lot of that has to do is when you pull your hair back and then the sun hits it, it's hitting that hair around the hairline, and it's finer hair, so it lifts quicker. So I hope that answered that question. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have questions I didn't get to, or a question that you have more specifics on, go to our Switch with skp.com page. Book your one-on-one appointment with an education team member. Also, don't forget, we have classes once a month that happen. Our last class was beginning of this month. Our next one will be in October. So join us. And there's 3 separate classes. IGORA Real starts first, and then you've got IGORA Vibrance, and then you've got Blond Me. So 3 separate classes, which is product knowledge, once a month that you can join. We also do have our Ask Me Anything will be happening again next week. We are doing them weekly. Next week will be on our normal date, which is going to be on Tuesday, and we'll be at 9 a.m. The following week is going to shift a little bit because I will be working yet another show in Ethan Wednesday. But keep on the lookout. We'll keep you updated on our next Ask Me Anything. And thank you again for joining. Can't wait to see you next week with more questions. Mm-hmm.